pick up, and hopefully this will be a worthwhile episode for the masses. But what we were talking about earlier was Ginny Springs, and I think you said that you'd only had a couple of dives there. Is that what's a couple of dives? 5, 3, 4, 2, 1?
No, I've probably got maybe a couple dozen. I'd say somewhere between 20 and 30-ish. I used to dive over there a lot more often than I do now, but since I bought a house in Mariana and it's right on the Merritt's Mill Pond, where there's probably just as many caves on the Mill Pond as there are mainstream caves in that area of Florida. It's a lot easier to get to caves instead of, getting Phil's E and driving to Little River or Cow or wherever,
What's up, David?
What's up, David? I could literally leave my house and be at Jackson Blue, and even with unlocking the gate, pulling in, closing the gate, and pulling down to the parking lot, I could be in the water within 15, 20 minutes.
Speaking of Jackson Blue, I was supposed to come up there with you guys and do a dive. Well, I say you guys, but it's just you.
You bailed on us.
I did not bail. Let me actually explain what happened, so everybody can understand.
It's explained. There we go.
Don't worry, Tim. This will be on YouTube on Monday. So here's what happened, guys. 2 weeks ago, twice during the week, I had some episodes where not episodes of the show, by the way, episodes like with my body where I was feeling nauseous and very dizzy and tired all at the same time. It was kind of weird. Wasn't sure what it was, but because it only happened one or two times, I just kind of let it go. Well, it happened again. So this time I called my primary care physician and we started talking about it. And there were a couple of possible reasons, one of which would be low blood sugar, possible hypoglycemia, maybe pre-diabetes type stuff. And we needed to run some blood tests to find out on that one. So we weren't sure. The other possibility, I literally could not tell you guys the name of it, but the layman's terms version of it is the possibility of a tumor on my adrenal gland, which was making my body somehow, I'm not a doctor, I don't know how this works, secrete additional adrenaline unnecessarily. And so that may have, my body may have been reacting weirdly, I guess, to the excess adrenaline. I'm not sure. Well, we got some blood work done. Strangely, actually, let me back up real quick. I didn't come up to dive with Dean because since we didn't know what the issue was, we didn't have a management solution for it. So if I did have some kind of low blood sugar where it was causing me issues with trying to operate, and of course I would need to have some type of sugar to recover, I did not feel comfortable being in a cave, and obviously neither did Dean, with us being in a cave where that might happen unexpectedly. So anyways, we went and I got some blood work done, which did come back. And the blood work said that my glucose levels were fine. I was fasting when I got the thing done, which was kind of weird because if my glucose, aka my blood sugar is good, then presumably that means it would be the other option, which is the tumor on the adrenal gland. But again, I'm not a doctor, so maybe the results were just because I wasn't specifically having some kind of issue at the time. I don't know. What I do know is yesterday I had another episode and I had bought myself, I haven't told you about this, Dean, I had bought myself one of those glucometers, maybe it's called. I know. And when I was having an episode, I did measure my blood sugar, and my blood sugar came in at 58 mmGL, whatever that is. And I looked it up, and the minimum that you want to see is 75. So I was 17 units, whatever it is, below the minimum. And, I ate a bowl of sugary cereal and I was fine afterwards. But that is a long way of saying why I did not come to join you for the dive.
So first of all, let me start by saying the short version is you bailed on us.
Yes, everything else is fake.
A lot of this is new to me, and I'm kind of upset. I think I'm going to cry that you keep things from me. But anyway, I have been speaking to you over the past 2 or 3 days, I think, about having one of my students on the show and interviewing him because he has been been diabetic since he's like 14 years old. And it's something that we dealt with minimally because he gave me the impression that he had it under control and he was very well educated and he understood his body and all that. And then we were 700 plus feet in Twin Cave when his blood sugar went pooh, like through the basement, through the subfloors, like it was bad. He has some steps in place that he tried to recover and he could not recover. At this point, I was right next to him and physical contact and let him do his thing. And I finally said, question, should we go? And he's like, wait, 1 second. And he took another sip or two of this drink that he keeps in a hydration pack. And I guess it's supposed to affect him right away. And he's supposed to feel better right away. And he didn't. So then he threw a thumb. But
I need to stop you real quick. Sorry. People are saying your volume is really low. That wouldn't be that surprising because my monitor is turned all the way up to hear you. So could you maybe turn up a little bit?
How's that any better?
I'm going to turn my volume down by about 25%, my listening volume. So can you try something now?
Yep, I'm here. Anybody listening, can you make a comment as to whether or not my audio is good enough?
This sounds fine to me. Thanks, John, for that. And sorry to interrupt you again, Dean, but let's just wait and see what people have to say. Hey, Cameron, how are you, man?
No worries. Anyway, having this happen on the dive, like we get out of the water and he even admitted that, having that happen while he was with me, he was glad because he didn't realize that could happen with the steps he was taking to manage his diabetes. And clearly that proved that he was wrong. So I literally asked him to do one thing and he went home and spent hours doing research and literally measuring how many mouthfuls of juice was in his hydration pack and how many milligrams or whatever of sugar are in each mouthful. And dude, I couldn't believe it. In one night, he came back with a spreadsheet of measurements and it was impressive. So everybody keep your eyes out for that episode. We haven't even recorded it yet, but it's going to probably happen in the next, I don't know, maybe 2 to maybe 4, maybe 6 weeks at most. But I think it's going to be an awesome episode.
Can I get you to add another hour to your volume?
Another hour to my volume, sure.
Yeah, people are saying you're still low. So let's just see. Maybe half an hour.
I am now at 100% on my gain.
Definitely loud in my ears, but I can turn me down. I don't need to be on 75%. All right, talk to me.
Do I need to move the microphone closer to my face?
This sounds fine for me, and my volume is sitting at 50%, and people seem to be.
Oh, Matt Hardman just said much better. Dave said awesome. Great volume. Thanks, Matt.
How's my volume, guys? Let me know how mine is as well.
Very overbearing.
That's my sexy voice. I think you're confusing sexy voice with volume. That's not the same thing.
Listen, if there's anyone that knows your sexy voice, it's definitely not me.
Yes, it is you. You literally dream about me, Dean.
In your dreams, pal. There's now 12 watchers, and I'm pretty sure Shelby's one of them, which, by the way, everybody say a prayer for Shelby. She's actually dealing with an infection right now, so she's been in the hospital getting some IV antibiotics. I love you, honey.
And
that's not you,
Shelby.
Josh.
Oh, I like you, Shelby. I'm not honey. I think I'm babe. But yeah, so getting back to what we decided to do here, like Dean said, we were sitting around trying to think of what we would record tonight. And because he and I are not creative at all, and we can think of no original ideas, we decided, screw it, let's go live. Let's talk to the viewers, see if they have any questions that we can answer. Maybe it's about dive sites, maybe it's about training, maybe it's about agency standards. The only things that we can't talk about would be stuff like, the Lena Mills situation. We can't talk about stuff like that. Accident analysis. If we weren't there, we're not going to talk about stuff like that. Basically anything that would require speculation, we would prefer not to talk about without extensive research.
What's up, Jeremy? How are you, buddy?
Hey, Jeremy. Thanks for letting us know that you can hear us.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine, and due to some health issues himself, he's been out of the water for a while. So keep on trucking, buddy. Right. You'll get back.
3 questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Tim Waldo, have we seen 13 lives yet? I be honest, I've started it. I'm probably about 25 or 30 minutes in, and I was starting to fall asleep, not because of any type of boredom from the show, but it was just a really long and busy day for me. So I was exhausted, but I have not finished it yet.
So to answer for me, I haven't started it yet. I really liked the documentary, but I have heard, and that doesn't mean that it's true, that it's kind of like one of the military movies where a lot of it is done wrongly and it can just be kind of annoying. And I won't lie, I'm definitely one of those guys. If I see, the military guy wearing his uniform wrong, I'm just like, I can't watch this. It takes you 5 seconds to consult with a veteran and get it right. So the least you could do is do that. So, you guys tell me, is it pretty correct as far as diving? And if it is, I'll take the time to watch it. But if not, then I'm going to have to pass because I'm too OCD for that. Next question was, David said, how come Dean is a better diver than Josh? That question doesn't actually make sense because he's not. I actually taught Dean everything he knows. Like, he was an instructor before me, and he's actually further. Shush, I'm not done. He's he's a further along instructor than me, but I taught him everything.
Hey, Ed, someone's trying to steal your thunder.
I taught Dean his manners too, so that's why he's so rude.
That's why I'm a New York asshole. But anybody who really knows me knows that I did all my instructorship with Ed Sorensen. He is, in my opinion, one of the best on the planet, which is why, or one of the reasons why I settled here. There's probably a couple more, but that's for another day, another topic, and another episode. I wouldn't say I'm better than Josh. I might say I'm more experienced. I've been teaching longer than him, but Josh is an absolutely fantastic diver. I'm not even going to say he'll get there someday. He's already there. It's just practice, repetition, over and over and over again. And any instructor even that thinks that they don't need to practice even the fundamental skills of buoyancy, trim, and propulsion, please do me a favor, take your fins, hang them up in the garage, and sell the rest of your gear.
There's no such thing as perfect. You can always get better, for sure.
Absolutely.
So yeah, to make this a little smooth, how about we do this? If you answer the question second, then read the next question, give the answer for that question first, then I'll answer that question second, read the next question, and be the first person to answer that. Does that make sense?
It does, and makes perfect sense. And guys, please forgive us if it does seem a little bit choppy. This is only our second live episode and only the first one that I'm in. Josh hogged the first one all to himself. So anyway, on to the shut up. on to the next question. Cameron is asking, any info on the no mount in Devil's Eye? Just found it yesterday. Nope. Not even sure what you're talking about, so I would defer to Josh on this one.
In Devil's Eye, I also don't know what you're talking about. I think, is it up on the shelf, the deco shelf or something, or is at the bottom of the eye? There is the catacombs at the bottom of the eye, but I'm not familiar with what you're talking about, to be honest with you.
And the catacombs are not no mount.
Exactly, and they're not. Actually, it says literally in the cavern area of the eye. So I'm not sure where that is, so I don't have any info on that for you. I'm sorry. So we'll just have to move to the next question, which is Jeremy saying, how's your wife feeling after her marriage counseling session with Dean? She is feeling enlightened, and also now she says Rocky Horror instead of Rocky Horror. So it was all pretty much all negative. Nothing to say, Dean?
No, it's my turn. Now you just, like as usual, just you shush up and let me speak. I personally think it was an excellent episode, Jeremy. I think his wife did fantastic. I did ask her beforehand, is there anything that's limits? Because I've never even met his wife. That was the very first time we had even talked to each other. So I didn't want her to feel awkward or like I was invading her space. But for the benefit of the episode, I wanted to be able to ask as much as I possibly could without offending. And I did tell her beforehand, if there's anything that I asked that does bother you, just say, hey, I'd rather not answer that. And I would have been fine with it. It did get a little emotional. I think it was an eye-opening experience for her. I hope it was an eye-opening experience for her and Josh as a couple. And one of the things that I loved about it most was the reactions from you guys. You know, within what would you say, Josh? Maybe within an hour or two, we already had like quite a few. Hey, great episode! This is awesome stuff. And I can't remember your name, and I apologize. I'm horrible with names.
Frank.
Someone actually said, Frank Stopa. I'm a diver. You know, my wife's not. She doesn't really want to hear anything about it except for that one call that says, "Hey, I'm okay when I'm out." And Frank, that was awesome. I'm glad it helps people like you and people like your wife, and that's what Josh and I are hoping to do here. We're not looking to do anything other than help people. So,
yeah, specifically, Frank was mentioning that it sort of helped him understand his wife's perspective rather than, you know, just understanding his side of it and hearing his wife say, well, I don't want to hear about it. I guess maybe, you know, they don't talk about it too much and she hasn't really explained the way she feels about it. So it was enlightening for him. I watched the episode afterwards. Well, really, I watched it when it went live. There were some things in there that made more sense to me when I heard you actually ask the question because I couldn't hear it while you guys were recording. I thought it was a really good episode. And like you said, it couldn't have been more than an hour till we were already getting comments and text messages and inbox messages saying, hey, man, this was so unique. It was great. It was, the content was just original and nobody else is doing stuff like this. So keep it up.
Yeah, that caught me too. Wow, you guys, this was so unique. This is the first of this kind. So we actually have plans for several more of those similar scenarios. So
for sure, I've got to interview Shelby in the same fashion, and it'll be interesting because Heather is an open water diver with no interest in cave diving, but Shelby, on the other hand, well, you'll find out when we decide to talk about it. You want to go ahead and read the question from Matthew Hardman? It's pretty long there, Dean.
I do. What's up, Matt? Thanks for asking. Question for the two of you to discuss, as it's something that I've recently encountered that's been frustrating. Well, I like to help people with frustrating things. How do either of you feel about publicizing map and survey information for caves? And do you think that more people who do mapping or survey would want to be the publicizing that information to make diving safer as opposed to withholding that information? What would be reasons that you see for withholding that kind of information on frequently dove systems? Okay, so I do know several people that do cave survey and mapping, and they do fantastic work, without a doubt. There are some, I'll definitely drop that name. Adam Hughes, you do phenomenal work. Adam Hughes learned, from what I understand, from Jason Richards, who is like an absolute guru. And with that, I got to take 1 second, totally off topic, total sidebar. If we could all just send prayers and wishes of Godspeed and condolences for Steve Gamble. I don't know if everybody who's listening to this has heard, Steve recently passed away, which kind of sucks. He was a legend in the industry.
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah. So anybody that's listening that knows anything about dry suit repair, Steve Gamble was the guy. He would have people send them suits from all over the world. So, and he was a very good friend of Ed's. So anywho, I apologize for the interruption. Back to the question at hand. Numbers and mapping and surveying. I do believe that this is, and I think I've said this before, a very predominantly run sport by alpha males. And alpha males sometimes have problems with playing in the sandbox with other kids. That's one of the most simplistic answers I can come up with. I personally know of several people who have their own versions of Jackson Blues map. And from what I understand, people don't share with other people. I have gotten a hold of a couple of them. I don't share anybody else's information, period. It would be, Matt, I think it would be a very big help if people could just collaborate there and finally get, a real good map of JB. The best one that we have is kind of like a stick figure map drawn on the back of our shirts and stuff. There's a couple others out there done by other people, but like publicly available for sale, not really. And I believe Adam Hughes started mapping it. There's actually a couple of REMs still in there. And he even told me once that he has to come and pull them out. And I don't know if he's done doing his work to get the data, if the map is somewhere coming out in the near future, but that still remains to be seen. For a direct answer to the question, don't know why people don't share.
I think something to discuss maybe in a video with someone like John, because he's our cartographer, or Adam or Jason or something, is what did they feel the risks are that are associated with publicizing this information. I'm not saying that's the reason specifically that people are withholding maps, but I know that if I had survey data, I personally would be a little hesitant to release something, especially when public release means also to people that are not cave certified. What kind of state of mind would I be in knowing that I'm putting information out there that could potentially get someone to do something that they're not qualified or safe to do? Again, I don't want to say that's the reason, but I could definitely see that being a motivator to keep information to yourself. You want to follow up on that, Dean, or you want me to move on?
I do. No. I've got a comment or a theory to rebut what you said. To keep people who are not certified from doing things they're not certified to do. But there could be an argument made also that a good quality map will help someone make a much better plan to survive doing something they might do anyway with or without the map. So
for sure,
I do understand what you're saying, but yeah, exactly, absolutely.
Yep. So
cool.
Yeah, back to Adam. He made the Jug Hole map, which you guys can find on caveatlas.com, and I think it's just an absolutely beautiful map. Jug's not a huge cave system, of course, but I really like it. So just shout out to Adam for that one. Let's see here. So I see Cam said near the shelf, COVID-19 on the arrow. I don't even know where that is. Oh, the shelf, the deco shelf, but I haven't seen the COVID-19 arrow. David said that episode with Heather was just amazing. Jeremy said, I agree with you. I commented on your page. Obviously, that was talking about the episode specifically. Let's see. Sam LaFleur said, search Fuzzy Bunny on YouTube. So that's interesting. My lovely wife, Heather, said, thank you. So if you guys did want to provide any feedback, that's great. All right. Tim Waldo said, it feels like the line arrow situation at Jackson is the wild, wild west. Is that going to self-correct soon? I refuse to talk about this, not because it's Tim asking. Just kidding, Tim. I don't know. I've never been to Jackson. I don't know what the Wild Wild West situation is. I've heard stories of other cave places where people are moving lines because they don't agree that these lines should tee together, or some people think they need to tee together. I've heard of snaps being taken out just because people didn't like the concept. And people are pulling arrows and cookies off lines because they think that it's cave trash. But for this specific scenario, I have no idea. Hopefully Dean can talk about it.
I was busy looking for the question to actually read it. Where is it?
He said, it feels like the line arrow situation at Jackson is the wild, wild west. Is that going to self-correct soon?
The line arrow situation. Can you be a little bit more specific? What specific situation are you talking about? There are arrows. There's supposed to be arrows in certain spots. Some arrows mark jumps. Some arrows mark distance. There are a couple arrows that are not locked, that are there for some reason or another. I don't know, but I don't remove other people's markers unless someone says, like one of the people listening and asking questions right now is Matt Hardman. He did a class with me, and him and his buddy left their cookies at the top of the tee in Twin. Obviously, if I say, hey, are you in, or did you leave that? Oh, no, I left it. Can you pull it? So, that stuff I'll pull. But if I see something on the line, I don't touch it. And most people should do the same. If you see something for a week, 2 weeks, a month, leave it alone. If it's not yours, maybe they're doing a project. Maybe they're working on something. Maybe they're doing mapping. I don't know why they'd use arrows, but you don't know. Like case in point, when Hurricane Michael hit back in October of 18, Ed and I were actually starting a Sidewinder class, and I ran my primary reel in, and then the hurricane hit, and I came back 4 months later, and my reel was still in Jackson Blue. So I am not someone that pulls arrows. There is there's a big arrow at the first tee. There's other arrows. There is definitely some line maintenance that needs to get done. That's actually been started a little bit. Patrick actually went in, I don't know, a couple nights ago and replaced everything from the beginning of the gold line down to the bottom of the chimney. I would venture to guess that probably over the next 6, maybe 12 months, there's going to be some significant other line repairs. But if you can be a little more specific on what you mean as far as the line arrows, that would be helpful.
He said they seem random. I don't know if that provides context that you're looking for. You mean like randomly spaced as far as their intervals, or just the, well, I mean, that would be the only thing I could think of that would be random. The directions obviously point towards air as they're supposed to. So while we're waiting on that, completely agree. So Matt said, completely agree on the alpha male mentality. For someone that is getting into survey, wanting to help with line maintenance, etc., what is the best way to approach, say, the people that are holding all the eggs? Well, if you're looking to get, this is just my personal opinion here. If you're looking to get into surveying and line maintenance, you probably don't want to approach the person that's holding all the eggs, because if they don't want to release the information, I don't think that's going to change. But there are plenty of people out there who are very friendly and easy to talk to. Adam Hughes is a good example of that, that you can get advice from on these things without, potentially talking to somebody that doesn't really want to talk to you or give you that information. But again, if you're friendly and outgoing, whatever, go for it, man. That's how I made friends with Dean. He's an introvert and a cave troll.
Stop. Be honest. You were sitting outside the armory at the CDS conference with your cups. Spare change.
Spare air, anyone? Spare air? That's what I was saying. anybody got changed for a fill and headed to Amigos?
Will you take my LP85 for a pallet of spare airs? Yeah. So Matt, like Josh said, I think Adam Hughes is an excellent resource for information. I don't know that he'll share any numbers, but I know he will definitely talk with just about anybody about mapping and cartography. I know it for a fact.
Yep. Super great guy.
I did think that one other reason that people might not want to share is because my data is my data. And if I give you my data and then you finish a map before me and then publish it and my name's not on it, then I'm going to be freaking pissed off. So
yeah, I would be
that's one possibility. The other is maybe you combine it with your data and my data might be 100% accurate and your data sucks because you're newer. I don't know. I'm just spitballing, trying to come up with ideas. How do you get started? That's a good question. I would say talk to Adam or Jason Richards. They would be the two people that I would say, if you're Facebook friends with them, if then great. If not, friend request them or send them a message saying, hey, I'm what I can do, or where do I start, and just get the dialogue going.
So just so everybody knows, I'm looking down because my laptop's here. The CDS actually has a book on surveying. It's a little yellow spiral bound book that you can buy from them. So if you don't know how to get started or what to look for or what to do, that's a resource that you can have. So Dean, following up on the question about the map, someone said, or it was Matt, obviously, if someone's wanted to do a large dive, wouldn't have any information help them to be safer. And he said it's a double-edged sword, and I agree, because yes, potentially having that data could make it safer for you to do those longer dives. But again, I would go back to having that information may also embolden you to do dives that you shouldn't do. Case in point, Ginny Springs, this little place called the Hankel. You guys ever heard of it? I'm sure you have, right? I can't tell you how many times I've heard stories from tons of instructors, especially when they teach DPV, right? They teach DPV cave, and the very next day they pass their student on the way back from the Hankel. And they're like, dude, you just got DPV certified and you're already doing 3,000 foot dives in this cave to a place you've never even swam before. And a lot of that has to do with the availability of the information. You want to be progressive on your penetration. Doesn't matter if you've got a tool that allows you to get there much faster.
I like the fact that you actually picked up on my hand signal, Josh. Progressive penetration.
That's why we're besties.
Yeah, well, in your mind, maybe.
I'm your bestie and you're my
besties, friend. Worsties. It's just a word game. It's all semantics, right?
Mediumsies.
Yeah, I do know it's a thing. People will go and take a class on something and then just, push it to the absolute limit, maybe even beyond. And that's a good way, in my opinion, to not make it back. So progressive penetration on anything and everything you learn, train with, a new site. Hey, I'm a full cave diver. I've got 14,000 cave dives yesterday. So what am I going to do today? I'm going to go into a brand new cave I've never been into and go 5 miles back. No, new cave dive site. Go 1,000 feet in and see how you feel. And maybe you feel great. So you go 2, but I would definitely keep things limited and take it slow on everything.
So my point with the maps, right, is that extra data can encourage you to do things that you're not ready to do. And by the way, the first 1,000 feet of Ginny has just tons of things to see. There's no reason why you should be doing 3, 4, 5,000 foot dives in there if you can't comfortably navigate around Ginny without the map data. So that's kind of my point. Let's see. If you want to get back on the cave arrow topic here, Dean, he said the distance between the markers, supposedly, I guess he means the arrows, seems random. They're not well marked when counting arrows to see how far I penetrate. That's strange. They're all 100 feet for me in my caves down here. Are you alluding that, or are you saying that they're not 100 feet between them at JB? Did you know that to be the truth?
I will say, like, Twin and Hole are marked very well. JB, because it's very well dove, there may be an arrow or two that have been knocked off. There may be an arrow or two, like I said earlier, about people have put their own arrow on to do something. It also depends on how far back you've been, Tim. You know, JB doesn't even have 100 or a 200 foot arrow. So, it's not marked in the beginning. It's kind of an anomaly because JB is cleared for open water divers to be in because it's a massive cavern. But it is a little bit different. When you get further back in JB, it's marked very well. There's T's everywhere with, a bunch of markers all over the place. I don't know. I guess my next question would be, how far back have you been?
Fair.
Yeah.
I lost you for a second there, but sounds like you're back. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right, great. Yeah, I can hear you. All right. So the next question is from David Benite. He says, how come when you are doing cavern, you can only use 1/3 of air or 1/6 on 2 tanks? Now, I'm not an instructor, so Dean will have a better answer. My thought process on this is gas management. 1/3 of 1 tank is the exact same amount of gas as 1/6 on 2 tanks. But 1/3 on 2 tanks can get you in twice as much trouble as 1/3 on 1 tank. Right. So for gas management principles, that's why agency said that. But again, I'm not an instructor, so don't take what I say seriously.
It is strictly for gas management, I guess is one way or one phrase you could use. More of a penetration limitation tool. Like Josh said, you can get on 1/3 of 1 tank. Let's say you're diving a single LP85. 1/3 of an LP85 is the exact same volume of gas as 1/6 of diving side mount tanks or back mounted double LP85s. So that is the only reason. With cavern, if you're diving on single tank, you need to have an H valve. So you have a totally separate and redundant first and second stage and valve. So, but it's not the fraction that matters. It's the volume of gas that you're allowed to breathe on penetration. Let me say this, because this is one thing that baffles my students when I tell them this, because for some reason, most people think that when you get to that turn pressure, you need to immediately exit and get out. All that does is draws a proverbial line in the sand, an imaginary line in the sand that you cannot go past. You can practice some skills on an exit and swim back in, and practice some more skills on another exit and swim back in, and practice more skills on another exit and swim back in. Now, don't do this until your gauge hits 0. But let's just pick some numbers. Round numbers, I start with 3,600. So my 6 is 600 PSI. So I turn at $3,000. And at Jackson Blue or Ginny, which are both magnitude 1 springs, if you turn with 3,000 PSI, you're probably going to be back out up at the surface if you needed to be or wanted to be with 2,900, 28, maybe 27, 26, probably absolute most, at least at JB anyway. Are you going to really get out of the water and go top a tank off from 2,600? Well, if I'm diving an LP85, it's rated for 2,640 anyway, so it's still a full tank.
Recalculate, baby.
Yeah, you don't even calculate. Just don't go out yet. So go to your imaginary line in the sand and then practice skills back to your reel and then turn around and switch positions with your buddy. So when you donated the first time, you can be recipient the second time and do another lights out touch contact gas sharing exit and switch again. And every time Close your eyes to practice. Don't cheat because you're cheating yourself. But when you do get to the end, check your gas before you head back in. Yep, still got $2,000. Let's go back in again. Come back out. Oh, we still got 1,700. Let's go back in and come back out again. I would say do that until you're down to, like, if you have doubles, side mount or back mount, I don't know, 700 PSI on average, which is what, 7 times 6.4 is, you still at 43, 44 cubic feet when you're 100 feet from open water, unlimited supply of gas at the surface. I think that's a great idea.
Interesting perspective. Yeah. So Eric said, how often do you like limiting your penetration? I asked for an elaboration. He said, turning before your turn pressures. Okay, if this sounds like a personal preference thing, I don't like having to turn my dive before my turn pressure if I give myself a hard stop as far as linear penetration. But again, it's about safety, right? So if I say I'm not going more than 500 feet into this cave so that I can learn the cave system, oh well, if I have to turn before my actual pressure, that's what I'm going to do. And I have done that. Like, 500 feet, then 1,000 feet, then 1,500, then 2,000. And some people may not be as anal about it as I am. But having actually been, and I think I talked about this in another episode, having actually been left on accident in a room, 2,000 feet back in Jenny Springs where complex navigation was required to exit, I no longer enter systems on the trust me, on the trust me dive type system, right? So I want to know the cave very well before I make those kind of dives. And that's my strategy for learning the cave, right? That's choosing a certain distance, doing that distance, learning that area, choosing another distance, learning that area, choosing another distance, learning that area, even if it means turning before I'm out of gas, because I can always go back, like Dean was just saying.
And that was a question from David, right?
That was Eric Hahn.
Eric, okay. I'm going to ask you, Eric, and I'm going to ask everybody else listening, watching, whatever. When do you turn? Do you actually figure and calculate your thirds and then turn at thirds? Okay. Why? If you turn at thirds, furthest point of penetration in a system like Peacock where there is no discernible flow, it's not a big enough flow to actually help you exit notably faster than you penetrated. So if you use a third to get in there and you push it to the very limit because you just want to go as far as you can, and then you turn at the furthest point of penetration, someone has a catastrophic loss of all their gas, do you think you're going to make it out? Maybe, unless you get some type of loss of visibility or you have another problem that delays you. You've now used a third to get in. You need probably the same third to get out. And your buddy who just lost all their gas, very good chance they're going to be a little bit elevated in their physiology. Their heart rate's going to be a little higher. Their breathing's going to be a little bit higher. They're probably going to need a little bit more than they used to get to that point. And by the way, precursor, did you do proper gas management before you got in? Did you do proper gas planning? Did you do proper gas matching? Everything plays here, everything. And I get it. I tell my students all the time, I paint some very grim, dark, seated pictures, but it only has to go that wrong once.
Yeah, somebody asked me, where is it that I was talking about? Wow, there's some crying going on in my house. Hopefully you guys can't hear that. Nope,
oh, that was me. I'm sorry.
Somebody asked which room it was and asked if it was the double domes. It was not the double domes. It was ice room, which is, I don't remember. I don't know the exact penetration. I want to say it's around 2,000 feet, but the point is that there's complex navigation involved to get there. And in fact, the route we took was almost exclusively off main line. There were some circuits right outside of the ice room. And as I confessed, if you will, in the video about it, we actually visualed one of the jumps there because it was so close. But again, the problem there for me is because I didn't know the cave at the time and he left me. Can I say for certain that I would have made my way to where I needed to do that visual and get back on main line eventually and make my way out? I don't know. Now I was on CCR. So what's the beautiful thing about CCR? I had a lot of time to figure the problem out. And I had plenty of visibility. I had plenty of lights, but I just didn't have, I didn't have the knowledge of the system. So again, it was good that I had a lot of time.
Oh,
what's your farthest penetration?
What's your farthest penetration?
Um, if we're talking about any cave ever, it's 3,000 feet at Jenny Springs. But my average penetration across all the caves that I've been into is 1,500 feet, because that's my typical starting point is about 1,000 feet, and then I'll go back and do another dive another day. So 3,000 is the furthest I've ever been into a cave. What about you, Dean? Probably like 25 feet or something like that.
Oh, not even that far. I'm afraid of overheads.
Oh man.
No, honestly, I've been to the end of the line at Hole in the Wall. I've been to the end of the line at Jackson Blue. Rough guesstimate about 5,000 feet in, on scooters with rebreathers, and very quite honestly, probably wouldn't have done it if I wasn't with Ed Sorensen. So,
fair enough. So, cool. David, I'm gonna ask David's questions real quick, and then Eric, I'll come back to you. Speaking about CCR, how to be a man and put your foot down to the wife on buying a rebreather. Fortunately, Dean does offer marriage counseling these days, I'm told, as I found out in our last episode.
You are so welcome, Josh.
If you're looking to do the old tried and true, ask forgiveness, not permission. I can't say I encourage it, but if you guys are in need of marriage counseling, come back and check us out on a future episode where we interview David's wife on the divorce proceedings because he bought a rebreather. On a serious note, go ahead.
Yeah, David, I'll give you about 15 seconds to throw a comment up. Are you actually being serious about having to deal with this type of situation with your wife?
Yeah, this isn't the first time he's asked us, so it's definitely.
Well, I just want to make sure he's not just joking around as a wannabe CCR diver. If there's actually some issue with having to find a way to break it to her or explain it to her or justify it or whatever, then I'll address it. But if it's just a guy joking around, okay, he says, yeah. So
100% true. Yeah.
Excellent. So here's a couple of suggestions, concepts, ideas, bad remarks, whatever you want to call them. For me, in my opinion, things that could help you. Not going to promise they will. In kind of a joking manner, I will tell students that, hey, honey, it can save my life. That's actually true. It really can. But that's also going to be countered by her comment. Well, they've said on their episodes that it's just a machine that wants to kill you and you have to keep it from doing that. So that might be a win-lose situation. How do you, some ideas. As a couple, as a family, can you afford it? Is there a monetary concern on her part? Is it just her concern about you going further into a cave? Is it a concern about you being in longer dives time-wise? Is it a concern that maybe she doesn't think you're ready to be a CCR diver? There's a lot of possible scenarios. I will say, if you want to drop me a PM, I will send you my cell phone number. I am happy to discuss any and all possible concepts or ideas that I can think of. Again, will it work? Will it help? Don't know, but she thinks it's a waste of money. We could easily come up with very valid, I'm not going to say arguments, but very valid rebuttals to that.
I think a great point to add, specifically about what you said about our videos talking about how they're trying to kill you, right, is the effort required to successfully be vigilant when it comes to your rebreather and make sure that it doesn't actually kill you is significantly lower than the value you get from the added time for problem solving as a generally for the entire dive, in my opinion, I guess. Again, so, right, you're monitoring your PPO2, but what you're getting in return is hours of time to solve problems. So in my opinion, that's worth it. Heather understands that. That's why she talked about it. So that might be something that would work for you. Let me see here. How do you calculate gas?
Hang on. We'll come back to Eric in a second. Gus Gonzalez from Dive Talk actually asked, where does not buying a Kiss Sidewinder as your first rebreather place on you on biggest and dumbest mistakes ever made as a cave diver? Josh.
Oh, Jesus Christ. What's funny is I'm sure if I had bought that as my first one, everybody would have said, you just bought it because you got, the Dive Talk guys. But that didn't help, because now that I did buy a Sidewinder, even though I'd already ordered it through a totally different person, not associated with Dive Talk, I still get the comments and the messages that are saying, you only bought the Sidewinder because of Dive Talk. Yeah, like, guys, Gus, Woody, I love you guys. I've done work with Gus and Woody. They're awesome. But like, seriously, I'm a 31-year-old man. I don't make my decisions based on what other people tell me to do. Okay. I bought the Choptima and I love the Choptima. Eli, Justin, I love you guys. I love my dive right people, but I wanted to try something else. And that's literally the only reason I'm switching.
Hey, Josh,
So,
I hate to interrupt you. Can
ahead.
you move your mic? Can you move your mic about 3 inches to your right?
Boop. Why?
Because now you're a 31-year-old man that does what you're told to do.
I got him. Damn. Also, I'm 31, so you messed that up. You tried. It didn't work out.
said 30. You. I said 31.
Did you? Well, see, I can't hear either. Eric said, how do you calculate gas planning when on CCR for just yourself? I'll answer this one quickly. This one, there are instructor standards, agency standards, I'm sure, and probably even commonly accepted standards. The way I do it is carry 1.5 times the amount of gas required to do the dive on open circuit. That's just how I do it. Dean, what do you do?
Are you talking about DIL and O2? Or are you talking about open circuit?
He's asking. He's open circuit bailout gas. How do you calculate gas planning when on CCR for just yourself? Well, I guess he didn't say bailout, so he could be talking about how much O2 you need to carry to facilitate your entire dive. In that case, I don't know that I want to talk about that in depth on a live stream.
Okay.
Calculating bailout, I'm happy to talk about, but I don't know if calculating O2 needs and things like that. I don't know if I want to talk about that, just because A, I'm not an instructor, and B, I don't know what kind of diving you're looking to do, Eric, and I'm a little bit afraid that type of information would be used to do things that you're not necessarily trained to do. And of course, we always encourage you to get certified. And again,
he just said bailout. He just said bailout.
Oh, okay, great. Let me just finish this point. Dean and I, the number one thing we always say is our episodes in no way, shape, or form will ever replace instructor-led training. So don't take anything we say as a license to do things.
Absolutely. So
if you want to talk about bailout, go ahead.
Yeah. For me, I will just based on my RMV and the dive I'm planning to doing, the average depth with my RMV will tell me how much gas I need at an absolute minimum. And like Josh said, multiply by 1.5. It's not very, and that's even if it's just me. Why? Because having too much gas never killed anybody, very honestly, Right. If you're the type of diver, whether it's mentally or financially, that you are just trying to get away with bare minimums as your safety net, bad way to approach diving.
Sure. So what do you define as the end of the line in JB? I'm guessing you probably meant end of gold line, but what did you mean by that?
Well, it gets to a point where there's so many lines back there and so many T's back there. If you haven't been back to that section of JB, there is so much. It almost becomes very much, other than not having the decorations, it becomes very much like Mexico, just with lines all over. But before JB2, which is before JB3. I have not been to JB2 yet. Don't need to. Have no desire yet. Even as a full cave instructor, like people ask me all the time, "Hey, you ever dive to Doria?" No, used to be a bucket list dive. Now she's collapsing and she takes way too many lives every season. So, I have no need or desire, because I have a woman that I'm in love with that I'm going to marry soon, and 3 kids, and she has kids, and I don't need to be one of those hot shots. I don't need to be one of those show offs. I don't need to do those, hey, look at the dive that I did. I do my fun diving every now and again. I go kill some lionfish in the Gulf of Mexico. I go to the Oriskany every once in a while. I'll be honest, most of my dives are teaching. I probably do 80% of my diving is while I'm teaching. And I'm okay with that. But I do get to do fun dives, and I put my breather on when I want to do a fun dive, and I will just go for however long I want to go for until I'm bored. I've never had an issue. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think even though I don't teach as often as you, that's probably about the same for me. About 80% of my dives are are instructor diving. And of course, that's mostly open water. So I don't get to have the luxury of doing a lot of diving in the cave for instruction. But I will get there, people. I will.
Someday.
Yeah, someday, probably in 2027, 100,000, because I'm a terrible diver. Eric, I saw that you mentioned the Choptima is a great unit. It is a great unit. I owned 3 of them over the course of my time as a diver. Sold all 3 of them, obviously, for various reasons, but I absolutely love the Choptima. And if things don't work out with the Sidewinder, I will 100% without question be returning to the Choptima. I can't say that they will or can't say that they won't because, for all the hoopla and all the people that are super excited about the Sidewinder, there are still critics out there and for their own reasons, and whether they're right or wrong is completely irrelevant because it's an individual experience. So maybe I just decide that I don't like being on a mechanical CCR and want to go back to ECCR. Don't know, but I'll update you guys when my unit finally comes in and I get a chance to dive it.
Cool.
Nothing to say on that one. Top to the nothing.
Well, I gave it the attention it deserved. How's that? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Man.
No. Listen. I'll be honest. I don't know if James Freely listens to our episodes. But James, I got to get with you. I definitely want to get my diver rating on the Choptima. I don't know if Jared or Lamar listened, but I'm probably going to be sometime after getting my 100 hours, be looking to get my instructor on the Choptima as well. Why? I've never dove one. Don't know what they're like. If I am even somewhat happy with the performance, it's honestly, it's a fairly popular, piece of machinery. So at least to dive on it so I can speak about the topic intelligently would be great. And if I like it enough to be an instructor on it, then, we'll have an instructor in this neck of the woods, so to speak.
It's got some interesting attributes to it. I mean, I love the idea of just undoing 4 bolt snaps underwater, in the water, whatever you want. And you've got your rebreather either attached or detached. I know that, I say that and people often ask the question, why the hell would you even do that? And I can't speak for everybody, but there are places obviously that you're not going to get in with a chest mounted rebreather. So maybe you take your rebreather to where you would need to go and tie it off to the line, and you do a side mount only dive, something that's really tight. Don't know. But it's a convenient thing to have. I will tell you this. Okay. And again, this is not saying the Sidewinder is better or that the Choptima is better. I have been to dives with Sidewinder divers that take a lot longer to get everything set up with the lungs and getting the loop over their head than it took me to just go clip and be done. Again, I understand people. I know there's a lot of KISS people in here. Don't bite my head off. I'm just saying. Jesus Christ. Eric said, other than the Sidewinder, what's the next new piece of gear you're excited to try out? I have 2, Eric. I have a Scuba Force Expedition SE dry suit, but I have sent that back to Germany to get some repairs done. And in the meantime, I ordered their NST dry suit, which is their, I'm going to say it's their cheapest dry suit, but I don't mean that in the quality. It's just it's not stitched.
It's the least expensive.
Yeah, thank you. It's the least expensive model they have, and it's going to be my backup suit. So I'm interested in trying that out. But more excited than that, I am using right now for this video a 6K cinema camera with a fixed prime lens that is just amazing. Of course, we're on Facebook, so the quality doesn't look great anyway. But Dene and I have been looking at some housings for it. We've been looking at some lighting. We have a lot of original content ideas. We've got documentaries in the works. We've got, just general cave videos in the works. He and I are just extremely excited to bring this stuff to you guys. So I can't wait to get to play with the camera underwater for sure.
Cool. And David just asked Josh, ECCR versus MCCR. What are your thoughts, Josh and Dene? And if I can, I'm going to go first because we were actually just talking about, I am predominantly a KISS Sidewinder diver working on my Sidewinder instructorship, and that is an MCCR, but I am interested in looking into the Choptima or chest mounted Optima, which is an ECCCR. And I was actually, I think I said one too many C's, sorry.
You did. There's too many.
Josh, do you know if the Choptima can actually be run in manual mode? Can you disable the electronics?
You wouldn't. It's not that you're disabling the electronics. It's that you would be disconnecting the inline for the O2. There's an inline valve, so it would still fire the solenoid. Whether you can disable the solenoid, I don't know. I that's not something I would do. I would just shut off the O2 supply to it.
No,
Personally.
I would never. I would never shut off my O2 supply to a unit. I guess I would, because I do have a shut off, but I only use that if I need to. I would want to have a Choptima that I could fly manually. And I know a lot of people that dive or own ECCRs that say, oh, well, I fly it manually anyway. The solenoids are just a safety net, but a safety net wouldn't accidentally or unwantingly fire when your PuPO2 is proper. It wouldn't inject O2. That's a failure, and that could be bad. So I'd rather fly it manually and have no choice.
Yeah, it took me a second to get caught up to what the question was. I do apologize. You're right. Don't do that. I was thinking about a failure scenario of the solenoid being stuck open, which is when you would shut off the supply to it. Sorry, but you are correct. And yes, you can fly it manual if you set the set point below what you actually want to fly the unit at. So, for example, if you set the set point to say 0.5, it's not gonna bring your PPO2 down via a dill flush, because the solenoid is just for oxygen. So if you set the automatic or the ECCR to 0.5 and you manually fly at 1.0, that's totally fine. So again, I apologize if it sounded like I was saying that you would cut off the O2 in order to fly the unit manually. I was thinking in either an O2 out or O2 failure situation, and you're having to just run SCCR. So again, sorry, that's my confusion.
Gotcha. I get the discrepancy now, but I'm curious as to know is if I could actually unplug the solenoids and put a leaky valve on the thing and just have it do a constant flow.
I don't think I should answer that question. For one, I have no clue, honestly, but I also don't want to be wrong and have Lamar or Jared or Mark, call my cell phone and yell at me for saying something that's not accurate. So I have no idea.
If anybody's listening or watching or knows, if you could reach out, that would be great, because I would love to be able to fly one completely manual.
What I do know is I have to remember the name and I can send it to you. There is a gentleman out there that modified his Choptima to use the Poseidon solid state O2 sensor. But because of that, he had to use their MAV and their their HUD and one other part. I have it in Facebook. I'll send you the messages later. But the point is, doing that, the electronics don't work anymore, so it's no longer ECCR. It's a manual CCR. But he's got the benefit of using the Poseidon solid state O2 sensors, which, if you guys have heard anything about those, supposedly, I don't know, but supposedly they don't need to be calibrated. They're never wrong. 2 sensors. If you buy 2 of the same sensors, they always read exactly the same. Sounds really cool, but they're also $1,400 per sensor. So for now, you can count me out on those.
Why, you don't believe in spending money to have something that works great?
No, I like to be cheap. You should know that by the fact that I just bought this camera and the damn housing, Dean. Come on.
I know that by the fact that you didn't even take me out to dinner last night before you tried.
Oh my God. You know what? If you weren't so easy, maybe I would take you to dinner.
I know. I promised I wouldn't say anything. I lied.
So, actually, David and Dean, maybe this MCCR thing, I have always thought that MCCR meant manual CCR. Okay. But I have heard that specifically for KISS, it means mechanical CCR. So which is it? Well, I asked David because I want to know which one he was asking, if they are 2 different things. And Dean, can you shed some light for me? Am I just totally off base here?
It's
or are manual and mechanical different?
It's mechanical. People say manual. It's the same thing. But the PSAI book, the manual, as far as the book, the textbook, actually says mechanical CCR on it. So I'm sure we could probably get Mike to comment also, but I don't know if he's watching.
Yeah, I was just curious if there is such a thing as a rebreather that is actually manual. No leaky valve. You have to inject O2 manually by yourself every single time. Same thing with your dill. Like there's no automation of any kind, mechanical or electronic. I don't know if that's a thing, but I would assume that would be considered, manual CCR.
That would be full manual. I agree. Again, semantics, play on words.
For sure.
I also think we're dangerously stupid and stupidly dangerous at the same time. To not have even a constant to replenish what you're metabolizing. Yeah, that'd be nuts. What happens if you forgot to press that MAV just for once? It's no good.
Yeah. John Lillistolin, who is the cartographer for the Roaring River project, did say there are manual only rebreathers. Wow.
Not sure what the benefit of such a unit would be.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
I'm sure there's a reason if they make them, but
I'm not smart enough on CCR, to be honest, to talk about that kind of stuff. We did get a question that needs to be answered by you and not me, which is, when will PSAI match the industry and host digital cert cards? And my answer actually on this one is, if people are going to continue buying cards the old-fashioned way, then if you want change, you have to affect change, right?
Yeah. I honestly, Eric, I don't know. The only thing that they do online or digitally is they give the instructors the ability to log in and submit 4C cards. Like, I can log in and put diver first name, diver last name, class, and like a couple other pieces of information. I think like the cell phone number, and very, very, very little information. And they then print them, ship them to me or to the student, whichever I tell them. If the student wants a certificate, which not a lot of people do, then I ship it to me so I can sign it. And if someone specifically asks if I could ship it directly to them, then I send it to them. So
I've never had a student ask for the certificate. I'm surprised actually that you have. Well, I guess there's nothing wrong, I guess, with being, proud enough of your accomplishment that you want to like frame the certificate. But I assume It's kind of like a, what is it, like 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, basically. You could stick it in a photo frame or whatever and throw it up on the wall. That's cool. You know what? I probably would have done that for Cave when I first got it. I was really, really proud to have made it through Cave.
I'm pretty sure all of us were. It's an accomplishment.
Definitely. For sure.
Yeah.
Well, we are just over that hour mark, so I'll give another minute to see if there's any last minute questions, and then I've got some dinner to have, so I can't be sitting around talking to you guys all night.
You got to go deal with some crying kids.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It didn't sound good. I don't know if somebody got yelled at or somebody got hurt, but I will tell you what, man. During those times, it's the safest place for me to be right here, hiding, because I'll get yelled at too. I'm sure whatever happened was my fault. Heather, if you're watching this, I didn't mean that. I love you. Bye. Eric said, what's
your next big dream dive?
I dream every night about doing a dive with the one, the only Dene and Schnitzel. Cannot wait. Really though, I was so freaking disappointed, guys. I think we had it on the calendar for 2-3 months for us to meet up at the end of July, and that didn't work out. So I was really bummed about that. I am actually looking forward to going up there and having Dean show me everything that the Merritt's Mill Pond has to offer. Because again, guys, I've never been up there, never. So once my CCR gets in, and I've got the hours on it for Cave and feel comfortable. I've got my DPV, I've got my dry suit and my heater. I've got my CCR. Man, it's going to be a blasty blast. I can't wait.
The important thing to remember, Josh, is that your health is way more important, and it comes third. So,
wait, what? My health comes third? That's fine, as long as diving comes second. Well, I don't know what number one is. Into the overhead. That's number one.
Jeremy. He says, Josh Underwood, you deserve a certificate for coasting with Dean. Oh,
I agree. That is an accomplishment. Well, now hold on, Jeremy. Or sorry, actually, I say, hold on, Dean. What if he means that I have accomplished something so great in that I have been able to secure you, such an amazing instructor, to be my co-host?
No, I know, Jeremy. That's not what he meant.
That's definitely nonsense for sure. He's right.
What a crock of shite.
It's for putting up with horrible. You. That's what it is. What's this about a dry suit and dry suit with a heater? Sorry, it's not that the dry suit has a heater built in. I just meant that I have a dry suit and I also have a heater, and I am a wussy when it comes to the cold. So I wear my heated vest under my thick undergarments inside my dry suit on every dive, even if it's the middle of winter. Don't know what to tell you.
Hey, Britt, when you're editing this, do me a favor. Just cut that little clip after he said, I am a wussy.
I am a wussy. I am a wussy. I am a wussy. I am a wussy. Just end the video right there. Play it back on repeat a couple of times. Wookie wussy 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 wussy.
Yeah. Whatever. So listen, guys, if you've been liking the episodes lately and the editing, the little name stuff and the funnies that come across in the intro, I think we probably mentioned it in every episode so far. That's being done by this guy Britt or Britain or Brighton. Have we ever gotten a proper pronunciation?
Briton.
Yeah. Anyway, Britt, you're awesome. Thank you very much. As I mentioned the other day, Josh and I are talking about some stuff that has you involved in the future. So, yeah, I agree, David. Editing is awesome. He's doing a good job. We are, and guys, we apologize and we appreciate your understanding. We're still trying to work on all of the audio, video, syncing, glitching issues. Because I am recording in Mariana up in the Panhandle, and Josh is, mid-peninsula south of me. We're not in the same area.
Yep.
And it makes it a little bit more difficult. So please bear with us and feel free to keep telling us if you notice anything at any point. Hey, episode 4, 17.6 minutes in, whatever. It might help us out.
Yeah, I mean, we've got the fancy stuff, we got the not fancy stuff, and we're just dropping all kinds of money trying to make this the best thing that we can for you guys, honestly. So, and as you guys probably know, we get literally nothing out of this. YouTube doesn't pay us, Facebook doesn't pay us. We're not sponsored in any way. Not that we're not open to it, but everything we do is just because we enjoy the feedback that we get from you guys. So super appreciate it. Keep the feedback coming. If I can make one request though, is I love the texts, I love the Facebook messages, I love the Facebook comments, but if there's anywhere to really direct the interaction, it's on the videos, because every time you comment or you like or you subscribe, right, the algorithm picks it up and it shows it to more people, which then of course brings more views and eventually may allow us to use funds from YouTube to produce even better content.
Better equipment, maybe even rent a full-time studio where Josh and I can meet together and record much more smooth episodes. But on that note, like Josh said, we're not sponsored by anybody. We don't make any money off this. So if we could just get all of you guys to send us like a nickel, at least Josh, then we could split a quarter.
Yeah, I was gonna say we'd have 9 people, a nickel. That's 45 cents. Cool, I'll take it.
Yep.
Jeez. All right, guys. Listen, we're over our hour. It's been awesome. This is the second time that we've been like, hey, let's just spontaneously do a live stream. Nobody's gonna join, and then we had a ton of interaction. That was great. Brent, I see your comment about starting a Patreon. It is something that we've talked about, but if I can be honest with you, I think Dene and I feel the same way here, that we're just a bunch of freaking guys talking about scuba diving. I don't know that we deserve to take money from anybody. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my view on that. But so we can continue to talk about it. If there's a valid use case for it, then perhaps. But like I said, man, we're just talking about something we love to talk about and trying to promote safety and educate people. So I'd feel super weird taking money from people for it. Dean, you want to take us out?
Yeah, man. I'm Dean Holmschneider. Been here with Josh Underwood and all you crazy cats. Thanks for coming and joining us into this episode of Into the Overhead. It's been great chatting with you. And don't forget to dive as if.